Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today we're designing merch for Demi Lovato's new album. I almost said the name of it, but then I remembered that you can't really curse on YouTube, especially not within the first minute. But yeah, I listened to this album. It's been on repeat since it dropped on Friday, and I'm in love. Demi going back to their pop rock roots. I don't have the words to explain how in love with this I am. Like everything about this album, so good. The writing, impeccable. The vibes, immaculate. Anyways, right now, my favorite song on that album is Eat Me. And that song alone inspired these three designs. So follow along as I design these with you guys. Also, I'm using my phone as a mic today to help with the audio. But yeah, as always, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And yeah, let's jump right into this design. So for this first design, we're jumping right into the song Eat Me itself and a lyric from it, Eat Me As I Am, which is like, I think is probably the overarching like message of this album is you're going to take Demi as they are. They are not the pop girly that they once were. This is Demi now. This is Demi, like true, authentic Demi. And I think that's why the song really sticks out to me. It's like, you're going to take me how I am. I'm not changing for who you are. And I love that message. And so with that, and with this album being more of a punk, like pop rock theme, I wanted to lean into the heavy metal band's tees. So that's exactly what I'm doing. And for this design, as you can see, like I already found, for all of the designs really, like I just found the assets that I really wanted to like save some time. And I was unable to get the plate and silverware image that I was looking for online. So what did I do? Created my own asset. I went right into my kitchen and took a picture of these plates and the silverware. So it looks exactly how I wanted it. And then from there, I started, manipulating the photos, superimposing Demi's head onto the plate. Because, eat me as I am. Once I like the placement of Demi's head on the plate, you're going to see throughout this video that I was tinkering with the effects for these photos for like a long time, like a ridiculously long time. Like I could not get it exactly how I wanted. And I think I really just overcomplicated this process, because this is a process I do a lot with photos where I make them look like they're like printed in black and white and like a newspaper. And I think I just overcomplicated it from the jump with doing like the levels and the posterization and whatnot. And it wasn't really needed. But I mean, I got to where I wanted it to be in the end. And then I took the image into Illustrator so I could start playing around with the text and seeing where I wanted it to be placed. Because I had the idea, and the font I am using, I don't remember the name of it, but I will put it on the screen. This is the name of the font for Eat Me As I Am. And then this also took a little bit of finagling to get the text to be warped around their head like I wanted it to be. And from there, I brought it back into Photoshop and started playing around with it some more, going back and forth. Like, this process was a lot of back and forth between Illustrator and Photoshop, just tinkering with things until they turned out exactly how I wanted them to be. Once they ended up, once I started liking how it was, I went back into Photoshop and brought in this background for like bootleg tees that I got from a creator on YouTube. I will put his name when I remember, because I don't remember right now. But you've probably seen his stuff. But he had like a pack of bootleg tee backgrounds. So I grabbed one of those, which is like this rock background, and I turned it red. And again, just kept playing with things, playing with the proportions of the words and with the image of Demi's head on the plate. And I thought the bottom looked a little sparse. It looked very empty. So I thought maybe it'd be cool to add Demi's name at the bottom. And I didn't like how that looked. So I ended up scrapping that at the end. Played around with some of the gradient maps. Like, I found one that I liked, this gray, red, and black one. Went with that and changed that red to be more of like a true red and not that like orangey red that it is originally in this gradient. And yeah, as you can see, this is a lot of just like really just fine-tuning things, going back and forth, checking references. I was being really nitpicky about this for some reason. Like, it was just not I don't know. I think I was just being too nitpicky, because it's not a lot of elements to it. Like, once I got the photo manipulation part, there wasn't that many elements to really mess around with in the shirt design. But, designer brain, I just wasn't satisfied. And so I decided, I was like, you know what? This actually looks really cool. I need to stop before I end up hating this design. I love how it turned out, honestly. Like, after all of that back and forth, just like the big old Eat Me As I Am, Demi's head on the plate. Like, this is literally what I was envisioning in my head. And like, I produced exactly what was in my brain. I love that. I love that part of being a designer. I love when things work out the way I want to in my head. If you guys want like an in-depth tutorial on how I posterize like images or text or whatnot, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll be sure to do that in the next, or not the next video, but the next time I use this technique, I'll be sure to explain that for you guys. So let me know. Okay, so for this next shirt, I was inspired by this photo of this lady that I got on Pinterest. I don't know who she is, so if they're really famous, don't roast me. Don't know who they are. And I was also inspired by this magazine cover. So I really wanted the text to look like that. This like really distressed pink with the black outlines that are on her shirt. in conjunction with the magazine cover. Like, I don't know, I was really inspired by like the black outline and then the text going out, and like, you know, the text and the group going outside of the outline. And so I use this font again. Oh, it looks like I can see it in this one, Ghastly Panic. I use Ghastly Panic for the font. And it really gave off, again, like that heavy metal feel that I wanted, but a little less on the nose than the last shirt. Like, the last shirt was definitely like this is for a death metal. Like, it was definitely death metal inspired. Like the Metallica shirts. And this one I wanted it to be, I don't know, a little less on the nose, like I said. Also, I wanted to use the lyric that Demi used in the same song, Eat Me. Like I said, all of these shirts are inspired by one song. So I wanted to use a lyric, did she make your mouths water? Because I was like, oh, immediate, yes. Like, this is, yeah, I have to use this lyric. So here I am making the look like the font that's on the shirt by doing the 3D drop shadow that you guys have seen me do before. But I did receive a comment about wanting to see how this blend is done. I will explain how it's done. I copy the text and paste it in place with Command Shift V, which is paste in place. So like it pastes in place. And so I move one of the layers to like down and right. So then I'm able to do the effect. And so then I select both of the layers. So then I go into Object, Blend, and then I click Make, so I can already kind of just see what it was. And then I go back into Object, Blend again, but this time I go into Blend Options. And then from there, I go into Specified Steps, and I usually do just 100. And there, as you can see, you get like the drop shadow effect that's similar to the shirt. And then from there, once again, I paste in place. So it's the same text layer that I copied from the very beginning, and I paste that in place. So then it's directly on top of the top layer of this blend. Does that make sense? And then I changed that top layer's color. Editing Alex here to say that in the video I forgot to mention that once you get the drop shadow to look exactly how you like, I like to duplicate the whole thing and put it off to the side just in case I want to go back to it into the future. And then I'll take what's on the board and just expand everything. And what that will end up doing is all of those drop shadows that you do. Remember that we, made a blend and it's 100 layers and it's 100 objects. So what you want to go from there is select all of those and click the Unite tool to help that become one big shape as opposed to 100 little shapes. Because we all know that Adobe just eats at your computer's processing power. And any little thing to help Adobe run better, the better. You're going to see later on in this video that when I tried to do that, my computer just wasn't having it, and it was turning the preview into outline, and I can't work that way because I need to see what I'm doing. It makes everything look like a wireframe. So you're going to see what I ended up doing to fix that problem. But yeah, that's how you do that little drop shadow blend effect. As you can see, when I'm clicking into like the Photoshop file, I already gathered my images. I have a lot of things to choose from because I wasn't exactly sure which photo I wanted to use for this shirt. So I gathered all the ones that piqued my interest. Like the middle finger, I was thinking of using for like the front of the shirt. Said, didn't use it at all. And then for the back of the shirt, I ended up using this image of Demi with the cherries on their head. Because it inspired me to add cherries to the front of the shirt, which I thought was a cute little accent. Because like I said, I didn't want it to be completely on the nose of like a heavy metal shirt. It just looks a little punky. So I grabbed the pencil tool and started drawing the little cherries. Duplicated my first cherry, got into place, drew the stem, and then drew the leaves. Duplicated the leaves, added the background color, added the little, like, I would say shine detail. I guess it is like a shine detail, but they're not like white, like a typical cartoon shine. But, the little shine detail. Then, had to do my little sparkle, my little signature sparkle. Oh, this one's a different sparkle. This one has like 8 little spikes, but I still do my little signature 4 little spike sparkle. And once I got everything in place, I then went in with that distressing layer that you guys see and added the distressing onto the shirt. So for that, I actually had to do the same process multiple times. So the distress layer itself, I learned this fairly recently, like within the past few months, that to get the whole thing, like the whole object to distress and not just like one letter or whatnot. Like say you have this word, it's 3 letters. And typically if you hit just the subtract button, it'll only do one of the letters instead of all of them. So what I learned, what you have to do is make sure everything is a compound path. And to do that, you just hit Command 8. And so I made sure I selected all the letters, made that a compound path. Then I also made sure that the distressing layer was a compound path. And then from there, you literally just hit the subtract button and it subtracts everything, it subtracts the distressing from the top of that layer. So here I'm doing it for every layer. I don't know. I was having trouble figuring out how to do it for each bit. So I ended up doing it separately, like 3 or so times. So I had to do it for the black, like drop shadow. And then I had to do it for like the black outline. And then I had to do it for like the red letters. But it was the same process, just making sure I had copied the distressing layer and then pasting in place. So I was able to get the distressing in the exact same spot for each layer. And since the front of the shirt, the was done, I then moved on to the back of the shirt, the Did She Make Your Mouth Water, and brought that into Photoshop. And again, you're going to see me doing a lot of finagling to get things exactly the way I want them to look. They just weren't looking right. I also had the artboard set up for like an Instagram post, which is a 4x5 and not like a shirt design. So I had to go in and make it like an 11x17. And here I am testing each photo out again, even though I knew I wanted to do the cherries, but just being indecisive as always, just having to make sure. And at a point I thought I was going to use this image of Demi, not with the cherries, and not with the lipstick either. How do you even describe this one? But like the third one. And so you see me going in, doing some of the effects for this image just to not use it. Indecisive. And then I'm going back into Illustrator to do the same thing with this text that I did with the like the drop shadow and the distressing, doing the exact same process. I think I went in with and messed with this text quite a few times to get the placement and everything just right for the shirt because it just wasn't looking right. So I really had to go back in and like mess and play around with it and like move the question mark into a different spot, just making it fit better within the design. And like I said, I went back to the cherry photo. Don't know why I even strayed from it. And I don't know if you're like me, but I always just save a little duplicate of everything I'm doing off to the side, just in case I want to go back later and change something. Like you see, I moved this off to the side before I, started grouping things together and really like adding the distressing that I wanted. Oop. And this is where my computer crapped out. And it changed everything to an outline. So I will show you guys how I resolved that. Or do I? I don't think I showed you guys how I resolved that. But what I did was because my computer was having a hard time showing the preview of this artwork, because it usually does that whenever I do this drop shadow effect. Something with the memory, whatever. So to rectify that, I rasterized everything. So I rasterized this text and then I just image traced it. And this is why I say I always make a duplicate of everything. So say I didn't like this, I was able to then take that duplicate and bring it back onto the artboard and be able to mess with it. But yeah, if this ever happens where you're trying to do this drop shadow effect, and when you try to unite all of the drop shadow itself and your computer just isn't having it, just image trace the whole thing. Like, not even just the drop shadow, like image trace the whole font aspect or rasterize and then image trace it, and then it'll work just fine. So here I'm doing the same effects that I did with the previous image onto the new image. I also went in and cleared up that weird bright spot that's in Demi's hair. So what I did was add some Gaussian blur and then a ripple effect. I messed with the minimum and median just to make it even more scanner looking and like it was printed on like a print press. And then I added some noise. And then I duplicated this layer, set it to soft light, and then I went in and added some, what is it called? Some halftone dots. I went in and added some halftone dots to really give it that like newspaper printed effect. And then I turned off the noise because it was too much. And then I wanted to play with the image even more. So I duplicated it one more time. And I went into, like the styles. And here I am deselecting the green and the blue color channels in the styles. And then I moved the image, just off center. So then it really gave like the printer effect. And it gave it more red to stay on theme with the shirt design. It still looked a little empty. So here I am just messing with adding the background in and photoshopping out, just manipulating the photo so it looks good, the background, just for me to not end up even using the background. I love wasting my own time. But to fill the space, which you'll see in a second, I added back in the sparkles, brought those in from the shirt to also help tie in not only with the cherries, but like the sparkles from the front of the shirt, bring those into the back of the shirt. And yeah, that's where I left this design for this shirt. I love how it turned out. Out of all the shirts that I made, this would probably be like, I don't know. I actually really like the first shirt too. But this one's super cute. I would wear the hell out of this shirt too. And for my third and final shirt, I wanted to do a funeral shirt. And if you're Black, probably even like just a person of color, you know exactly what kind of shirt I'm talking about. But I wanted to make one because you know how Demi had this whole funeral for their pop music, like, and then the lyric, I'm not the girl you once adored, she's dead, it's time to effing mourn. That's where I got the inspiration for this shirt. And I wasn't really sure if it was going to turn out the way I wanted. Sorry, this thing, it keeps moving so far into my mouth. My bad. But yeah, I wasn't sure if it was going to turn out the way I wanted, but I wanted to give it a shot anyways. Surprise, surprise, it turned out the way I wanted. I don't know why I doubt myself. But yeah, I started with this image of Demi when they had blonde hair. Like, this is very made in America and just like, at first glance, doesn't even look like Demi. Crazy. But I thought this would be the perfect image for the death of the pop music. I think this image was taken in 2012 or 2013 when they were, like really deep in the pop music scene. And you see, in addition to like the funeral shirts, this is one that somebody made of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I was like, this is incredible. This is where I got also got a lot of inspiration from. And I've actually made like an airbrush type shirt before based off of Flomilli. And I will have that link in the description below if you guys want to check it out and possibly buy it from my shop. I couldn't decide what font I liked best. So here I am, as per usual, just playing around with different fonts and seeing what ended up working best with what I was looking for. And what ended up working best was a combination of like all three fonts. Because I like to customize type, whether like, even though I'm not really like going in and like drawing new characters, I am mixing up characters from different fonts and still making things look unique and not just typed out from the keyboard. I also don't know why I put RIP instead of rest in peace. Because this whole time when I was working on this design, I kept looking at this RIP and thinking how it just didn't look right. And I couldn't understand why it didn't look right. And it's because it says RIP and not rest in peace. It just didn't fit the space well. So here I'm creating that banner that's based off of the shirt off to the left. I wanted to create that same ribbon or a similar ribbon for my shirt design. So here I am going in with the rectangle and warping it with the arc to give it the curve. And this took a lot longer to get right than I thought it would for some reason. Probably because, again, I'm picky and I'm just obsessing over little details that nobody other than me that is going to even notice. But yeah, here I am making the ribbon and adding the connecting lines for the top and the sides. Like, I think I went in and like, I spent a long time. I spent way too long on this ribbon, and I went back and fixed this ribbon so many times. This is why you don't need to be looking at your designs so closely all the time. See, like I said, why was I obsessed with this ribbon? Why did it take me so long to get this right? But apparently I got to a place that I really liked. So I added it into Photoshop and started placing the text exactly how I wanted it within the ribbon. And here I am grabbing some wings off the internet. If I was, selling this for real, making this for a for real client, I would absolutely draw these wings myself. But since this is for funsies, I just grabbed some wings off of Google. Don't hate me. You're really getting kind of a glimpse into how I work, how sporadic my brain is sometimes, because I really went from that wing into, I need to make those clouds in the background. So here I am back in Illustrator making the clouds for the background. I didn't even finish the wing in Photoshop. But here I am adding the clouds into Photoshop and doing the background. Okay, so how I get the airbrushing effect throughout this design is I take each element and I add a Gaussian blur. And I think most of the elements also have a ripple. Some do, some don't. But I added a Gaussian blur, sometimes a ripple effect. And then I went into the layer style and added an outer glow to give the airbrushed effect of, how the paint isn't perfectly applied. You know how airbrushing looks. I don't know why I'm over explaining this. To give the airbrush look and filling in the background of the banner, adding like some highlights and shadows to the background itself, changing the color of the clouds to blue and adding the background, adding like the airbrush blue background in with the clouds. Oh, and this part, y'all are about to watch me struggle. Y'all are about to watch me struggle and do the little paint highlights. Don't know why this was so hard. I think because I work on a laptop, so I think that's why I was having a hard time getting the strokes to go exactly in the right direction. So y'all are gonna see and watch me do these same little strokes like 50 times. Like, let's play this little P part in real time so we can see how long it took me to do this. Like, girl was struggling. And it was for like almost every letter. I couldn't get it right. But yeah, I added the highlights to each letter to, again, add to the airbrush look. I wish we could get these shirts more readily available like we used to be able to. Like, just pop up at the mall and get them. I actually got one like right before the pandemic started for my birthday. I was at the fair and somebody was doing these airbrush shirts. So of course I had to get one with my name, my full name, Alexandria, in pink. And I haven't worn it because I don't want it to get dirty because I'm not exactly sure how you wash those shirts. So it's just been sitting in my drawer for like 2 years at this point. And here I finally came to my senses and was like, oh yeah, maybe it should say rest in peace and not RIP. So I'm adding rest in peace. I'm replacing the RIP to the rest in peace, adding a nice little arc to that, and then, doing the airbrushing effect to keep in line with the airbrushed shirt. I changed the outer glow from black to red because that's the thing sometimes. Instead of having sometimes there's a color behind the words. Like, you even saw it in the RBG one. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah, RGB one. That there was a different color behind the main text on top. And so here I am adding it to the rest in peace. And then I brought that red throughout the design as pops of color. With the sparkles. And then adding like the little spray behind the sparkles. I got smart and remembered that you can use the pen tool for some of this outlining work. And so that's what I did. I used the pen tool and outline traced around this banner. And then what I did was make sure that my brush was set how I wanted it to, like the correct size, and like making sure it wasn't a harsh round brush, but it was like a soft brush. And then I just changed the pen stroke to a brush stroke. Yep, stroke path, and then brush. And then I had simulate pressure on, but it didn't do it for some reason. And then so you'll see later on that I had to go back in and like erase out some of the ends so it would have like the tapered off ends and not be so round. But yeah, that's another way to do something like this, is to use the pen tool and then turn it into a brush. You can also use the pen tool to make like a selection instead of using like the lasso tool or something else, the eraser. And here I am again doing the same process on this photo that I did with the last one, adding the Gaussian blur, some ripples, some noise, the median and minimum, duplicating it, setting the duplicated layer to soft light, and adding gosh, why do I always blank on that? The halftone dots. I'm playing around with adding an outline around the image of Demi itself. And that took a little bit of finessing because it was looking a little janky because of how it was cut out. But I added the outline around Demi, and this is the final design. I threw these designs on some mock-ups because when you're designing a physical object, it's always good to mock it up so you get a feel for what it actually may look like in real life. So here I present you with the mock-up of the shirts. I hope you like the designs, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I say this about all of my designs, but I really liked how these turned out. Yo, if anybody on Demi's team happens to stumble upon this video, hit me up. I'm open and will gladly work on some merch for Demi or sell these designs to you. Also, if anybody else wants me to design some merch for them, not even just merch, but if there's any designs that you guys would love to commission me for, just hit my email. I would love to work with you guys. Let me know which one was your favorite down in the comment section down below. Let me know what your favorite songs off of Demi's new album is if you've given it a listen. And if you haven't, I highly recommend, especially if you're a fan of Demi when they first came out on Disney Channel and, you know, Get Back and La La Land and Remember December. Like, if you like that Demi era, you're going to love this album. I promise you. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys for today's video. You can see these designs with even more detail on my Instagram at Alex with 3 X's Joseph. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.